Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars Legion Crashed Escape Pod Battlefield expansion that was announced during the in-flight report at Gen Con 2019 by Fantasy Flight. This one may have flown under the radar for a lot of people. If you did watch the in-flight report, you might have just kind of glazed right over this and focused on the other things that were maybe a little bit more fancy or more interesting, because this one might have just seemed like a terrain expansion. But there's a whole lot more here, and I'm going to talk about that. But before I do want to remind you guys there is a big giveaway going on right now for the $100 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. And yeah, it's pretty easy. But I'd definitely like to hear from you guys in the comments section below, especially towards the end of the video. We're going to be talking about some of the really, really cool things that this has future implications for. Well beyond just terrain. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in now. $39.95, Q4 this year, so a couple more months, probably like 4 more months we'll have this one. And what's really, really cool about this one is that it's, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the terrain piece itself. I think it's cool that they're doing terrain, but at the same time, I'm like, and there's going to be a little scenario that goes along with it, it looks like, but I'm not really that worried about this. I'm thinking this is more along the lines of we're getting R2 and 3PO. And I think that's the bigger thing that goes along here. R2 and 3PO are definitely the bigger aspect here because, for one, they have a unique synergy in how you feel to 2 different units together, and they're using this whole counterpart system, which I'm going to talk about. But also, they said that they can be used in either the Rebellion or the Republic. So that means you're looking at almost, you know, you could say 4 different units, but more likely it's going to be, you know, maybe 2 different units. You know, your Republic version and your Rebellion version. So, like, that's kind of cool. And the reason I say that, you know, you might have thought that, oh, well, this is probably just a dual faction card or something like that. But the problem is, in the future rules reference guide, we actually get a look at the C-3PO card that comes along with this, and it's clearly a Rebellion symbol, which means the version of C-3PO that goes into the Republic will have to have a different card, because this card is clearly Rebellion and can't be used. However, the version behind it does look to be Republic. So it looks like these are 2 different cards here, and they're just showing you both. So you'll probably get 4 cards. I'm assuming if you're getting 2 versions of 3PO, you're also getting 2 versions of R2-D2. And that's pretty cool. I have no problem with that. And they actually have different artwork on them too, which is one's like this and the other one's like, you know, so kind of like that. So that's going on there. But so what is C-3PO, right? He's human cyborg relations. He's got droid trooper, and you know, also I want to point out his layout here is like kind of flip flopped to how it normally will be, because basically you're gonna have your R2-D2 card, and C-3PO is going to go on the other side, kind of like, you know, mirrors of each other. And it's very interesting. It seems like this whole counterpart keyword that he has is almost like treating him as an upgrade, almost like a special heavy weapons type of upgrade. But they went with this style of it being a full unit card for a couple of other reasons, which we'll dive into when I look at what counterpart actually means, because we actually have a lot of information about how counterpart works. So that's kind of cool. But he has 2 health. And he's only got 1 weapon. It's Clumsy Kick, a single white die. He's got no surge. He can't take any upgrades at all, because this is his upgrade bar over here, and it's completely blank. He is 15 points. Now, because he is a counterpart, that does kind of make you... It seems to imply that maybe you'll be able to take R2-D2 without C-3PO. Like, you might want to, like, hence the cost of 15. Do you want R2 and 3PO, or do you just want R2 by himself? But C-3PO has the action, Calculate Odds. You can choose a friendly trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight. It gains an aim, a dodge, and a suppression token. So that's pretty good. I could see that working really, really well with a lot of Pathfinders or Jyn Erso. I could see that working really well for himself as well, because of the inconspicuous keyword, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But inconspicuous is basically a way to kind of prevent you from being shot. This makes them very good for, like, you know, going around picking up objectives and stuff. But he's got a distract. It's a free action, and it says choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 to 2 and in line of sight. Until the end of the round, you lose inconspicuous, and when that unit performs an attack, it must attack you if able. So Here you can basically force somebody to shoot you, and that's really, really great. If like Darth Vader's closing in against your Luke Skywalker, and Luke's low, and C-3PO can be like, over here, just like that, which is very cool. And then he's got counterpart R2-D2. So he is a counterpart, and even though he says in the movies that this is my counterpart, basically, the counterpart keyword, we're going to talk about it more, but it means that he goes to R2-D2 and not necessarily the other way around. While building an army, this mini must be added to an R2-D2 unit. So you would run the R2-D2 unit. Like, you can't run him by himself. Now, this doesn't mean we won't potentially get future versions of C-3PO that could be run by themselves. But for this particular version, he is going to be a counterpart to R2-D2. So that's just how that one's going to work. In theory, it's possible that the Republic version might not have this. We don't really get a clear look at the Republic version. He could operate totally differently. My guess is he'll probably be mostly the same. I think if it was going to be that differently, they might have made it a whole separate expansion pack. So my guess is it's probably going to be almost exactly the same. Maybe exactly the same. Maybe the points cost a little more because clones and stuff tend to cost more, and but I don't know. But yeah, so let's take a look. I want to look at inconspicuous first, because the fact that it's saying you lose inconspicuous tells us that R2-D2 probably has inconspicuous, because one of the things about a counterpart unit basically is going to be like 2 unit cards in one, is that unit is going to have the keywords of every single counterpart, every single card. That's basically, so R2 will have calculate odds and counter and distract and all of that. But R2 probably has inconspicuous, and here's what inconspicuous says in the upcoming rules reference guide. So some units appear inconsequential to the battle and are often ignored by enemy forces, while a unit with inconspicuous keyword has at least 1 suppression token. When an enemy unit performs an attack, it must target another unit, if able. So, also, when they rally, they can choose not to remove suppression tokens. However, they still remove one during the end phase. So, you're not going to be free of suppression forever, but if 3PO wants to distract, he can then go ahead and get his suppression that's on him and R2, and now they won't take any more suppression. Be interesting to see what R2's courage value is, though, because if it's only 1, then that could be disastrous. So you may want to activate them first and then give them the suppression, so this way they're going to be able to do their 2 actions and no problem. But if you get shot before you can activate, and if you lose the ability to get 2 things, you won't want to do calculate the odds. But that also means you can probably only get shot once, and they'd have to kill you, because if they shoot you the first time, maybe you play dead. Maybe that's how the lore aspect of it goes. I'm not sure, but counterpart is the more interesting thing. So we're going to talk about what the rules say about counterpart. So here's the first part. Some characters are faithful companions or subservient minions, and are almost never seen apart from another character. A character like this will have the counterpart keyword, and the mini that represents the character is always added to another character's unit. That character's card is a counterpart card, and their mini is a counterpart mini. All right, so a counterpart mini cannot be fielded as its own unit. It is instead added to another unit specified by the counterpart keyword. A counterpart and its corresponding unit combine to form one unit. It's only going to be one unit. You have R2 and 3PO. They're going to activate as a single unit, consisting of the counterpart and the non-counterpart minis, and represented by the combination of the unit card and the counterpart card. The non-counterpart mini is always the unit leader. So in this case, R2-D2 is always going to be the leader. But there's more. It also says the combined unit has the rank, defense die, color, courage value, surge conversion chart, and maximum speed shown on the unit card. So all of those core stats will appear on R2-D2's card. So when I said no surge, I guess that really doesn't matter too much. But any non-counterpart minis have health values shown on the unit card. So if R2's got 2 health, then 3PO also has 2 health. Any counterpart minis have health values shown on the counterpart card. Yeah. So basically they should both have 2 health. The combined unit has keywords of both the unit card and the counterpart card. So, like I said before, the keywords are all going to happen. Now, if all the counterpart minis are defeated, the combined unit loses the keywords of the counterpart card. So if C-3PO is killed and R2-D2 is still alive, C-3PO's card, in theory, you'll probably just flip it over, and you will not get any of his keywords anymore. Now, that probably makes sense, especially seeing, let me go back a little bit, since it looks like they gave him some nice art on the back side of the card. That's probably what you will do when a counterpart is defeated. Be funny if they gave him alt art of like a 3PO that's all in pieces like he was in Empire Strikes Back. That would be funny. But there's a little bit more. They have both the unit and they have the keywords of both. Only counterpart minis can use weapons. Yes, only non-counterpart minis can use weapons shown on the unit card, while only counterpart minis can use weapons shown on the counterpart card. So, basically, that clumsy kick that 3PO has, R2 cannot do that. R2 instead will have his own weapon, and each of them can only use their own weapons, which means they're potentially really good for splitting fire, although that's not going to happen in the case of C-3PO because he does not have a ranged attack. It's only a melee attack. So if they both get into melee, well then, more than likely they're both attacking the same target. If the combined unit gains a weapon from a command card effect, only the non-counterpart mini can use that weapon. So if, for example, R2-D2 were to gain, there was some kind of command card that gave R2-D2 some type of machine gun, 3PO couldn't also have that. They wouldn't both have a machine gun. Only the leader would have that weapon. Like some examples of that, like Sabine, for example, has... no, Sabine doesn't have one, but Boba Fett, for example, that's a better example. Boba Fett has, because I was thinking of Sabine's mines, but Boba Fett has, every one of his command cards give him a new weapon. So in theory, if they came out with a counterpart for Boba Fett, like maybe a little mouse droid that wants to follow Boba Fett around the battlefield, then when Boba Fett plays a command card, oh, I've got this, the mouse droid doesn't also get that rocket launcher, for example, or the flamethrower. So you're not going to double the dice because there's two minis rolling it. No, that's not going to work. Only the unit leader gets that weapon. And then the combined unit has the unit type shown on the unit card. The counterpart card may have a different unit type or subtype, but this is only for the purposes of equipping upgrade cards. So now I'm pretty sure R2-D2 is also going to be a droid, but in theory, if this was a different version of C-3PO that was attached to Luke Skywalker, and like Master Luke, right? If they made that and he was counterpart Luke wouldn't then be able to get droid-only upgrades, in theory, because C-3PO might be able to get a droid-only upgrade, but you couldn't put it on Luke, so the whole unit's not going to gain that, right? And also, while building an army, players must follow any rules, restrictions when equipping upgrade cards to counterparts. During a game, non-weapon cards equipped to counterparts are usable by the whole unit. So if you've got some kind of like binoculars or something that 3PO is holding, Luke can use the binoculars, like to gain, in theory, if he could take, we can see from 3PO's card that he doesn't have any upgrade slots, but it seems like they future-proofed this very well. And upgrade cards with weapons can be used only by the counterpart or the non-counterpart minis to which they are equipped, respectively. So if General Grievous had a Magna Guard that was his counterpart that stayed with him, you wouldn't be able to use Grievous's blaster, even if you equipped that as an upgrade. And the same thing, if the Magna Guard had a Force Pike or a Vibroblade or something like that, Grievous wouldn't be able to wield that. So, and that only really matters, when you're rolling dice and you're thinking, well, we have this upgrade, can every mini, like with grenades on a Stormtrooper, for example, well, every mini can roll the grenade because it's equipped to the unit. And here they're specifying, weapons will go on individual ones. And that's kind of, I think, getting to the point here is why they're not just making C-3PO as a counterpart an upgrade card. Because in theory, he could work as like a different type of heavy weapons, right? That only goes maybe a different icon, right? Maybe personnel or something like that. But in theory, R2 could have had that, and it would have, but C-3PO could have been that. But the thing is, the fact that counterparts will be able to get their own upgrades is actually really exciting. And that's why I said that this expansion is so exciting. So if we go back to the beginning of the video, and I'm like, this means a whole lot more than just R2 and 3PO or this terrain piece, It's because Counterpart here, and what's been shown in the rules reference, has a lot of possibility. Now, and that's one of the things I want you guys to think about and let me know in the comments below. What future Counterparts do you guys want to see? Because I think this is a really big deal. Like, they had kind of teased, like, briefly, that we might see Baze and Chirrut. Oh, and there's one more thing, that basically you get to assign wounds wherever you want, even if there's no line of sight to the character. So I can have R2, picking up that objective and have C-3PO like hidden completely behind a rock, so the unit gets heavy cover. You shoot, you get 2 damage in. Well, I can put them both on 3PO, or I can do 1 and 1, to keep them both alive. So this way, even if you couldn't see 3PO, 3PO can take the damage for it. Like he sees R2 getting shot, and his heart breaks, right? But like that's like a really effective way for you to really mitigate the damage that's incoming. And I'm expecting they won't have very much in the way of defense. So I think that's a pretty cool way to do it. But yes, this is the whole counterpart system. Let me go to this slide here, because this is it's going to be really cool. Baze and Chirrut, right? Like that's the first one that comes to mind. Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One. I totally expect them, and I expect Chirrut Imwe to be the leader and Baze Malbus to be the counterpart. However, the fact that the counterpart has to die first might lead you to think the other way around. So maybe, I don't know. It seemed like Chirrut Imwe was more the one in charge, and Baze was the bodyguard. So like a bodyguard is a perfect example of a counterpart. So like or at least one really good example, especially the perfect example of a counterpart that might have their own equipment. Maybe you're going to be able to put special guns on these guys. Special guns on Chirrut. Chirrut might have the a regular staff to start off, and then you might equip him as light bow that he can actually convert into a ranged weapon. Maybe he's got the reconfigure option. Baze Malbus won't use that. He'll be using that heavy, huge, nasty gun that he's got. Baze and Chirrut being one unit alone is going to be awesome. And this also opens up a ton of capabilities for you to be able to have, really, thorough units like Hera and Chopper, for example. Perfect example, right? Hera and Chopper. Hera would be the leader. Chopper would be... That's a really good example of why a droid counterpart doesn't give the whole unit droid. That's just saying Chopper could probably take droid-only upgrades, but Hera is not going to be able to take droid-only upgrades, even though she's got Chopper. Right, so like that's another thing. We already know that Sabine is in the game, so they're probably doing the Ghost crew. So that's a way for you to potentially get your whole Ghost crew on board. Otherwise, how else are you going to do it? Right? So you can only have 4. You've got Hera is going to be a commander almost certainly. Right? Hera makes sense for a commander. Sabine's an operative. You've still got Kanan, Ezra, Zeb, and Chopper, and you're not going to be able to fit all that in with only 2 commanders and 2 operatives maximum. So you'll have to come up with the other ways. There may be a way that they put like Zeb in as a heavy weapons option, for some rebel troopers. Like that could be an option. Like you have, just like how you have Bistan and Pow as pathfinders. Like they could do things like that. It doesn't preclude the possibility to also do a full-blown Zeb. I don't think Zeb would really be a commander. I could see him being an operative. But I mean, there's things like that. Maybe they'll even say, you know what, screw it. Let's make a special core unit, or maybe even a support unit that has like Zeb like holding ammo for like a gunner or something, or Zeb like manning some big kind of turret or an E-web or something like that. Like I could see different things, the different creative ways, because people are going to want to be able to field like the whole Spectre squadron. People are going to want to be able to field all of Luke and Leia and all of them, and it doesn't really say what unit type this is going to be. So I'm curious if we're going to see a whole new unit type that allows for counterparts. So for some type of, maybe R2-D2 will have his own unit type, or maybe, I don't see him being a commander, and he certainly doesn't seem like what operatives tend to be like. So, well, R2 core doesn't sound right either, although that would be interesting if I could make up one of your 3 core options. Maybe support. Support probably makes the most sense for someone like these guys, but yeah, that could be very different. Like I don't see Baze and Chirrut being support. There's a lot of other teams, and it makes me wonder what kind of teams would they do for the prequel factions, since those are coming out now. I like to think that maybe we could get a generic Jedi and Padawan, with the Padawan being counterpart to their respective Jedi. That makes sense. I kind of like that idea. You could even do like young Anakin, and all, that would be also cool. You could, like, there's a lot of, as the game goes on, they could do like baby Anakin, like little Annie, like that'd be groovy. I would. It's not something that we need right away, but like as the game goes on, that could be a thing. That could be a really good thing, a way to get him on the battlefield without all the teenage angst. I don't know, but I want to hear from you guys. What are you guys thinking? Maybe a Salacious Crumb, who's a counterpart to Jabba the Hutt. Like there's so many. This counterpart ability, the fact that the counterpart can have their own gear and own equipment that they use, but they're still going along with the master. Darth Maul and Sidious. Granted, I think Darth Maul would be an operative, but you can have multiple versions of characters. So this won't be, I'm almost certain this won't be the only version we see of C-3PO. I also expect C-3PO to show up if they ever do sequel factions. He's got the red arm in episode 7, and apparently he's supposed to have a very different vibe going on in episode 9. So who knows? Might be some different attack dice for C-3PO if he does. Anthony Daniels did say at Star Wars Celebration that the droid is going to fight back this time. So we will have to see. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what kind of counterpart units you can come up with. Also, they talked about other counterparts, like if all counterpart minis have died. Do you think that we'll see multiple counterpart cards all going to one? That might be a way for you to get all of Spectre Squadron in one giant thing. That would be interesting, but might be a little overpowered. Or do you think maybe we'll see a counterpart type of mini that has 3 minis to it? Like, so maybe you get, I can't really think of a good maybe some kind of Minok Lord who's got 3 Minok counterparts, and they all do his bidding and go and attack, and then once you kill all of the 3 Minoks, then the Lord can die. Obviously not something, I don't really anticipate that, but something along those lines. Maybe somebody who has multiple droids, Ida Versio with her little backpack droid or something like that. So many options, and it's really exciting to me. So that's why I think this expansion pack is very, very cool, because it's kind of introducing a whole new concept that allows a ton of new stuff to show up in this game. So that's all I got for you guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.